everyone. Once a week I like to do what I call Heart to Heart. It's an in-depth look at who Homestead Tessie is and her thoughts and her feelings. And being that it's the end of the week, I thought I would share with you today's Heart to Heart. Homestead Tessie, who is she and where did the name come from? Half of the subscribers know me and know my story, but then the other half have no clue who this girl is that all of a sudden showed up on the internet. Now let me explain. In 2007 is where my homesteading story began, so that's where we'll start today. In 2007 we had a business of real estate. We would buy and we would sell homes. What we would do is we were flippers. We would take a home that was very condemned, fix it beautiful, and then resell it. In the beginning of 2007, things were going quite well. In fact, we were making very good money buying homes and selling them that way. And then we decided to buy a nice house. So we bought a nice house with a couple acres and an in-ground pool. We were living the high life, going out to eat every other day, expensive vehicles in the driveway, and a good business. We had 3 homes that we were working on, plus the home that we were living in. And when the economy took a turn for the worst, we were hit very hard. 3 of our homes were on the market and they just would not sell. People weren't buying, they couldn't get no money. And my husband said to me, he said, "Tessie, don't you think maybe we should sell the house we're in and downsize?" I said, "You mean what?" I said, "I don't think so. I'm not going to sell my house. What would people think? Tessie, you know where I came from. I lived a comfortable life. What would family and friends say if we'd start selling our house and trying to sell our vehicles?" I lived full of pride. It's hard to believe looking back now that I was such a worldly woman. We didn't have to sell our house at the time, but he thought if we would, it would help lower some of our costs. But I wasn't buying it. So we struggled for 3 months, and the housing market got worse and worse. We couldn't sell our houses. In fact, property taxes were coming due. Well, how were we going to pay for that? In the midst of all this is when my life took a sudden change. The change of events have changed me forever, and I will never be the same. And I thank the Lord each day for what I went through, because He taught me a very valuable lesson, that money isn't what it's all about. In fact, money is not the answer. Now, before I continue my story, I need to remind you that all of these events happened within 1 year. In the midst of discussing about selling our house and my pride, all of a sudden I started not feeling very well. I was very weak, and I won't go into personal details, but I knew that there was something wrong. Visually, there was something wrong. I left it go because we had no health insurance. And I didn't tell my husband because that's the last thing he needed to hear is, "Tessie's got a medical problem." But it got worse. In a matter of 4 days, my situation became dire, and I had to share it with him. I showed him a situation that I was having. It was very visible. And he said, "We have to go to the ER immediately." So in the midst of all this, I went to the ER. Immediately they knew that there was something majorly wrong, and they said, "We have to transport you to another hospital." And so they transported me to another hospital, and that's when my life changed drastically. They realized that I had a tumor in my uterus, and what happened was the tumor was so large that it tore my uterus, and I was internally bleeding. In fact, I was hemorrhaging, and I had lost over half of my blood count. I was close to not being here on this earth. I walked from one place to the other in the hospital and I collapsed. And I remember coming to, and my husband, I was in his arms, and he was calling for the nurse. Nurse, nurse! And I was white as a ghost. And I remember that split second, I knew that my life would change, and I have to be the one to change it. I prayed internally. I said, God, if you get me through this, I promise you, I will never, ever live that materialistic life again. I was in the hospital for a couple days and had blood transfusions, and they put me on strong medication to keep the hemorrhaging from stopping, and so I would get strong enough to have an operation. It took 6 weeks for me to heal. But what do you think we did in those 6 weeks? Yep, you guessed it. We sold everything. We sold the house. We sold the cars. We sold the 3 houses that would not sell. We sold for pennies on the dollar. We made nothing and we lost everything. Did we technically have to sell? No, we were not going foreclosed on and nothing like that. But we decided to take care of our own business and do what was right. So we sold everything and my life changed. After we sold everything, we still had some debt to pay, but we never ever received any help. No government help, no assistance from family, not 1 penny from friends. We did it all by ourselves. And yes, I do take great pride in that because it was hard work. There were days that I had nothing, and I had to learn to live on nothing. And yes, some days I was bitter. Why can't so-and-so do this to help me? Why would so-and-so do that? But I realized it was all in God's plan. He wanted to teach me a valuable lesson, that it's not about the money. He will take care of us. 6 weeks later, I became stronger, and I had an operation, and it removed the tumor. And the tumor had taken 10 years to grow, but it just so happened that it happened the week of my pride. No, not everything happens for a reason in life. So we sold everything, bought a dumpy truck, and decided I'm going to homestead. I look back on that now and I think I have come such a long way. And we live quite successfully now, but you would never know it because we have determined that we will continue this lifestyle no matter what. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Giving it all away and starting over. I tell people, we didn't lose it, we gave it. Was it our choice? No, not at the time. But I am so grateful. I've learned what life is about. I am happy with the little things in life. My health is fine now. In fact, I should never have that problem again. It was just something that happens. They said due to high estrogen, and I was extremely obese over that time. And it grew, and that's what happened. Some people would say, Teresa, why are you sharing this story? It's awful personal. But I realize that's why you share. You share your personal life with others because it's the personal life that makes you free. Sharing my struggles, in turn, can help other people. And in fact, I've seen it help other people. When I talked about my tooth, I had people commenting me and messaging me. Men, older women, young women. Thank you for sharing your story. It takes great courage to share with you my life story. But in turn, I hope you learn something from it. Don't let pride come in the way. I see so many people that have all the money in the world and they're miserable. They've lost their life purpose. Homesteading, yes, some may say it's lame, but it's given me a life purpose. I wake up each morning and I have things to do, and I have great value in those things. My husband and I have become closer than ever. I remember like it was yesterday, the day I said to my husband when I came home from the hospital, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it together. And that's what we did. Thank you so much for listening. Reach out and do what you know is best, even if it's painful, because some of life's lessons are the most painful, but the most rewarding in the end. God bless and take care.